Well, hello. Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Becky from Power Tools with Thread. Happy Friday. You're in our Stitchuation room. This is a Monday through Friday virtual stitching retreat where we do all things stitching here like you would do on any retreat. If you've never been to one and you get an opportunity, you should definitely go. Little bit different scene today. I'm on the back side of my cutting table. I thought I would go through with you how I cut my fabrics for blocks that are repetitive because that can be really, really tedious, in my opinion. It's great to see everybody here. Oh my goodness, there's so many in the chat. And we're going to do a giveaway today. Give me a hashtag Power Tools. I have a curated fabric bundle from Me Time. I want to thank Me Time for sponsoring the giveaway today. We've got a pretty baby blue, and there is the always needed white solid. And here is a pretty, like a lime color geometric, and a dark green, and we've got a pink, very pretty pink. It's almost a velveteen, and then some Kaffe. You can't go wrong with Kaffe facet fabrics, right? You can always recognize those bright colors. He's a character. Met him in Houston. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, do me a hashtag Power Tools for a Me Time curated bundle. So got a lot of work done yesterday. I'm going to come around the camera and I want to show you what I got finished. So happy about this. So crazy happy that this is done. Happy Halloween, y'all, is finished. Hold on a second. Let me get the camera pointed correctly. There it is. I got the borders on it. Looks great. Got it squared up, and it is ready for the long arms. So I'm very, very happy. I had a situation, I don't know why, the mummy down here at the bottom, he should have been like one over, or maybe anchoring the dark over here, whatever. It is what it is. It happened, and that's my life, and he's staying. That's where he stays. That's just what happens, okay? That's what you accept, okay? So got that done. Very, very happy to have that. I've got hoops flopping around here. Very happy to have that finished. Let me turn you guys back. Uh-oh. Hold on one thing. I got to flip a screen so I can see what I'm doing. Let me see here. Okay. That's a little better. My camera crew, well, I'm my camera crew, so there it is. But thank you all. Yeah, I'm very happy to have that Happy Halloween done. I think if I had it to do differently on the outer borders, I made each individual piece on the outer border its own and hooped it with the batting and all that. I think I would have done one long continuous piece instead, and I would have cut length of fabric versus width of fabric. I eked it out, but I had enough fabric to do it. It's just you can't cut a big piece and hoop it and just waste what's on the side. I had to, I cut a piece and I stitched one and I rehooped it and stitched two and rehooped it and stitched three. So I did do that. But I think if I had it to do over again, I would do one long piece without the basting boxes. So it's all a matter of how you want to align it. So let me make sure I'm not missing any. Lift up the camera. My eyes are not seen. My eyes? You can't see my eyes? Well, I don't have any inspiration on my door. I need to get something on my door back here. I've been talking about getting something on my door for years. Also, yesterday, I finished the Jelly Roll Race quilt for my friend Cindy. She was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And whenever I have a friend that has something like that, they get a Jelly Roll Race quilt. And this is called Shoreline. The line is Shoreline from Moda. And I just threw it together yesterday afternoon. I still need to square it up, and I am waiting on a baby blue cuddle backing and binding fabric that is on its way from Fat Quarter Shop right now. So we all we met and have formed our friendship down at the coast. They have a house down there on Matagorda Bay. And so it's shoreline was the perfect line of fabric for this. All the colors just remind me of being at the coast. So anyway, now, so that is going to get done as soon as that cuddle gets here. Those are really, really fast to put together. You just take a jelly roll, open it up, and just start putting the ends together. And Jenny Doan has a great video on her channel on Missouri Star Quilt Company of how to cut or how to put those things together. It took me, I don't know, it was less than an hour, and I had that done. So that was really nice. I don't want to miss. Yeah, the colors are just fantastic. How many yards of cuddle do I need for that size? Deb, so cuddle comes in a 90 and I get 1.5 yards because I'm going to put it on the long arm. So I need to make sure I've got, I know I have plenty, right? I know it's plenty. And then I always save that extra. So I always get 1.5 yards, and that seems to work with more than enough fabric for the backing. But anyway, thank you all for your prayers for Cindy. Yeah. So I have talked about my my method for sorting blocks before, and I call it the paper plate method. And I get a lot of questions about the paper plate method. And my quilty buddy Lisa, who is Betty Boop here in the chat, she was like, why don't you try that and use paper plates? So this is her bright idea. Okay. So this quilt that I'm making, let me see how many of these blocks we have. There are, let me see, I'm seeing 14. There are, good grief, there are 22 blocks, 22 pieced blocks in this quilt. That's very common for Lori Holt's quilts. This is How to Build a Scarecrow. And those are all the blocks that go around the outside of the quilt. So there are 22 of them. If you were to cut each one individually, you want to talk about tedious. Oh my word, I couldn't stand it. So I'm going to cut 2 of them today and just give you an idea of how I do my cutting and how I sort all of that. Once you get the cutting done, and it will probably take me, a good hour or more to cut them all. But once you get the cutting and sorting done, you just stack your block pieces on a paper plate. And there you have your paper plates, and you can just move them around as you need them. You can travel with them if you want. You can put them in a Yazzie bag, and travel with them. But the pieces that you need for each block are all together. And then all you have to do is a block a day. And in 22 days, my blocks are done. So if you break this kind of ginormous process, that's a huge load of work. Okay. And if you break that down into manageable bite-sized pieces, it just works so much better. And it doesn't seem quite so overwhelming. And you also get to see your progress because you're like, oh, I'm on paper plate 13. Yay. I'm halfway done, right? So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything over here. You tried using paper plates and it worked great. How come you didn't think of it before? Well, hold on. You guys are, I don't know, Melanie, why we don't think of these things. I have no idea. It's amazing. So let's see. American Pie is exactly the same. Yes, it is exactly the same. American Pie is that big red, white, and blue. And you have a load of things that you need to cut. Now, in my case, it was a block of the month when I was doing mine. If you weren't on the block of the month, then you got all of it at one time and you're cutting the same things over and over and over, right? So if you're brand new to quilting, I wanted to go through or maybe you're an embroiderer and you're thinking about dabbling into quilting. So, just as when you're using an embroidery machine and you want good quality things, the same goes for quilting. In embroidery, the size of the block that you cut is not as important because generally you're going to trim it away if it's an applique or something like that. So in embroidery, I always say embroidery is a lot more forgiving than quilting. But in quilting, if you make your first cut wrong, you've screwed up the entire quilt for the rest of it, right? And especially if you get a kit, and if you buy a kit, which is wonderful because the kit will have everything that you need in it, right? I've got fat quarters, I have fat eighths, I've got yardage, but I'm also limited, all right? I also don't have a quilt store nearby where I can go run and get more if I make a boo-boo. So it's a little intimidating when you start quilting, and you've got to think about doing stuff right. You might get a little extra fabric in a quilt kit. You might not. And so that's just being sure is really important. I do not recommend beginning cutting. If you don't know how to cut quilt fabric, don't do it on your pretty fabric first. Get out some scraps and start practicing cutting. Now, there are a lot of rulers out on the market. Our tools to the trade are the rotary cutter. Okay. Cutting is its own skill set, you guys. And it's so incredibly important. All right. It's just like machining anything. If you get the first piece wrong, nothing's going to fit. Okay. So there's a lot of different rulers that are out on the market. You can get less expensive rulers, and those are fine. You do not have to have the very most expensive rulers. You can get, just get something you can see through. You definitely need to see through it. You don't want to use a wooden. Well, there's my Frito. There she is. Frito's here. She just popped through the door. She's here for her goldfish. Hold on. Now, I'll bring you guys around and give her goldfish. I'll stop for the dog, right? What are we doing, Frito? Oh, let me turn this so they can see you and say good morning. Don't step on the cords, Frito. Where you at? There you are. You gonna sit? Oh, you're such a good girl. Yes. Aw, that's a good girl. Good morning, Frito. You sweet baby. Okay. Sorry about that. She's conditioned, and so am I, right? What are you doing? Don't be under feet here. I'm trying to cut. So, but I will tell you that my quilting accuracy increased exponentially when I started using, this is not a plug. I can link to them. I didn't below, but I can and I will. Quilter Select rulers. These rulers, they've got a full, very thin rubberized back to them, and stuff just doesn't move. It just does not move. If you have a ruler that does not have any kind of grippy on the back of it, that can be detrimental because your ruler can slip as it's on this fabric. Okay. So you want to be sure. These are the only two Quilter Select. You can buy all kinds of different rulers, you guys. I only use the 8.5 by 24 or the 6 by 12. These are the only two rulers that I use to cut predominantly because they're really the only two I need. You can get all different kinds of sizes of rulers, and that's completely up to you. If you're on a limited budget, buy good, okay? And but this ruler right here is they're not cheap. I can't remember. I think I'm holding $100 or more in my hands right now. Okay, Quilter Select is very expensive. They're the most expensive on the market. You can only buy them at quilt shops, I think. At least it used to be that way. And or at shows or something like that. But these are my preferred rulers. Of course, you can get the ones from Fiskars. They have them at Walmart. But if you're going to get those rulers, then you want to get the grippies that go on the back, the little rubber grips that you can put on there. They're adhesive. So I really recommend doing that. So, so I don't want to scare you to death about cutting, But the thing about cutting is, you know, you're wanting to make this cute quilt that you just spent a bunch of money on, and you don't want to ruin your fabric right out the gate, right? So you get yours at Quilt Shows. Yes. Okay. So, oh, we've got lots of goodies in the virtual kitchen. You guys wander over there and hit the thumbs up on your way in, if you would be so kind. So what I've got here with me now, you guys, if you haven't already, do a hashtag Power Tools. I've got a curated fabric bundle from Me Time that I'm going to pop in the mail. US shipping only, please, for this. Okay. I'm paying the shipping on it, you guys. Matt, on our Sunday live, the winner of the Yazzie bag was out of Australia. That was really nice because Yazzie, they ship US, Canada, Australia. Very nice. So when I'm getting ready to do my cutting on mass multiple blocks, okay, in your kit, you're going to get fat quarters, you're going to get fat eighths, and you're going to get some yardage, or you might get even something smaller. So I have pressed like one edge. I have to cut 2.5-inch squares. So I'm going to separate these into the larger and smaller pieces. Okay. Here I've got some yardage and yardage on this one. I'm actually doing a quilting lesson today for my friend who's going to come over here this afternoon, and I'm probably going to be telling her the exact same thing I'm telling you. This was a fat quarter. So I didn't have to iron the whole thing because I'm going to fold it back up and put it back in my bin anyway when I'm finished with it. So I just ironed a part of it that I'm going to need for making the blocks. Okay, this is a yardage piece. This is a fat eighth, I think. And there's a yardage piece. And here's a fat quarter. And a fat eighth. Fat quarter. Okay. So some of these have been cut into. This can be confusing, right? Some of it's been cut into, some of it hasn't. So those that have not, those that I think this is the only one I think that has a long straight edge. All the other ones have had a chunk out of them. Okay. And all I'm going to do is line up the edges as best I can. All right. So we're going to put the orange one on the bottom because that's the biggest. And then I'll just align them biggest to smallest. And I'm going to, because I want to make sure I get everything. So I'm just aligning these edges here. This will be fine. Now this is how I cut. You can certainly cut any way you want. This is just easier for me, more logical for me to do it this way. Okay. So I'm going to put the red one here. And the edges are approximate, y'all. They are approximate. I think I need a new blade on my rotary cutter too. I'm going to have to run over and get one. So that's how you learn to start quilting. Oh yeah, your friend came over and showed you how to cut fabric. I went to a friend's house to show her how to quilt a block, and I saw her cut her fabric, and I about had a heart attack. And I was like, oh, don't do it like that. Okay, so I have got my edges approximately all together. They're not perfect, and that's okay. All right, on this one. Now I'm cutting 2.5-inch squares. When you get a ruler, if you get this is an 8.5 by 24, and this is essential because you can cut fat quarters with this. And it has an extra 1/2 inch over here. And you might think, well, what is that 1/2 inch for? That doesn't, see that there's an extra 1/2 inch. And more than Quilters Select have the 1/2 inch on the side. And that's okay. You want that because then if I'm going to cut a 2.5 inch, if I was cutting from this side that doesn't have the 1/2 inch, then I'd have to line up the edge of the fabric in between these two dark lines, in between the dark ones. And I can see it, but it's easier if I do it from this side where I have the 1/2 inch right there. And now I line it up on that dark line right there. So that's the purpose of the two. When you've got a ruler that has an extra half on the side of it, very, very handy. A whatever and a half is the most common cut in quilting. So if you get a ruler, if you're going to invest in a ruler, make sure you get one that has a and a half on the side. This just makes your life easier. So let me go get a new blade. I'll use this new endurance blade. This came in the sew sampler from Fat Quarter Shop. So why not, right? Yes, being left-handed does make it all a little bit different. You're right. Okay. You've never seen this cutting process. Okay, well, good. Okay, so when you change your rotary blade, these things have an order that they need to go in when you take them apart and when you put them back together. All right. So what I do is I take the top, the little nut or the screw, whatever that is, and I set it. I'll do it here so you can see it on the white. So there, that's first. Then there's a little bent washer. And then there is a plastic spacer. And keep them in order. Okay. And then there's the handle, and then there's the blade. And so I'm going to take this. You can get little magnets to handle these. Be very careful. But these are the parts that people get confused. If you just take it off and put it in a little pile, it's hard to remember which way. All right. And then you want to get in here and clean out any fuzzies that don't belong, because that doesn't make life easy. Okay. And make sure there's no fuzzies in here. And then I'm just going to put this. This thing is sharp, 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 sharp. Okay. So now I'm just going to put it back together. Oh man, I don't want to. Here. Okay. All right. Now I know I'm going to have it in the right order as I put them back together. This little curved, this is the Olfa rotary cutter. This little curved spacer washer thing has a square hole on it, a rectangular hole. Make sure you get that set correctly, flush on the little, y'all are screaming what that thing's called, on that screw head. Okay. And then this goes on. It's just easier if you do it all in the same order. Now, on this mat that I have, this is a new mat called Big Mat. And they tell you don't have your blade super tight. You want to make sure, so, you want it on, but you want to make sure that it rolls forward and it rolls backwards. Okay, that's fine. So finger tight is fine on these. Don't get your pliers out. You don't need to do that. And then this old blade, I'm just going to put it in here, close it up, and throw it away. And that's it on that. Okay. All righty. You guys are talking up a storm. Okay. So there are a lot of different rotary cutters that are out there. My hands, because I have osteoarthritis in my fingers, I prefer this large handle on this one. I've tried to use the Martelli. I'm not comfortable with that one. Find a rotary cutter that you are comfortable with and works for you. I like this one because you can push in the handle. There's a button on it to pop it and hold it open if you want, so that the blade is always open. Or if you leave it down, it's open when you squeeze it and it's closed when you let go of it. So there's a safety factor in here with this. All right. So, and they make all different colors, but they're all the same. I just am a huge fan of this. There's a 60 millimeter Olfa. They make little straight ones with different opening and closing mechanisms, but you cannot go wrong with Olfa cutters. They're just my favorite. That's what I started with, and that's what I stick to. Okay, so I want to cut up these fat quarters. I need 2.5-inch squares on these. and I need different amounts of them, but these are all, these are not the background fabric. Let me get my instructions that tell me how many of these things I need for each one. I got to find those blocks where they start in the cutting guide. So I need 16 of the background squares, but everything else, 4 or 5 or 8 or 4. Okay. So the autumn stitch is the orange, and that's the one I need 8 of, but they all need to be 2.5-inch squares. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I cut 2.5-inch squares, right? So I told you that my edges over here are not quite even, and that's fine. I'm going to take this and set it so that, let me get you in. The edge, the 2.5-inch line is just, I've got a little bit extra hanging out over the edge. Just a tiny bit extra. Don't try to get your ruler exactly on the edge of any one piece of fabric because you've got frays and fuzzies. Okay, so just leave it. There's just a tiny little bit. And then I will take my rotary cutter, and you want to start at the back. This is important, okay? You want a little bit of mat down here, okay? Don't hang it over the edge. You want a little bit of mat. And then you want to start at the back. Look at where my hand is placed, okay? My hand is nowhere near the edge. Don't hang your fingers over the edge. You keep your hand over here. And I don't have to put a lot of pressure on this. I can try to wiggle it, and it won't because it's got that rubber on the back of it, okay? So don't hold your rotary cutter to the side, okay? You want to hold it straight up and right next to, and you're just going to run it along. When you get part way, move your hand. That sounded like I didn't go all the way through it. There we go. Now, before you move your ruler, grab your other fabric and give it a little pull and make sure you have a clean cut. That way, if you don't have a clean cut, you don't have to fiddle with putting your ruler right back on. That's very handy to do that. Okay. So I'm going to move these out of the way as one. This is just how I do it. There's a lot of different ways to cut. I'm going to move these as a whole unit, and you can put them on a line. It doesn't matter if you use the line on the mat or not because I'm using the line on the ruler. Now I'm putting the ruler black line exactly on that edge of that fabric, exactly on the edge. Okay, just like that. Nice and clean. Nice and clean. And I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Now, another method, excuse me, you guys. So a lot of people ask, do I use the ruler? Do I use the lines on the ruler, or do I use the line on the mat? Which one? Well, they both work, and you can use them for different things. Okay. So here's the mechanics behind doing it one way. Now I'm going to use my smaller ruler because I've got a smaller piece of fabric here. What the most efficient way to cut is to cut and use the lines on the mat, make a cut and slide the ruler back, and make a cut and slide the ruler back. Some people can't wrap their head around that, and that's kind of hard. Okay. So I know down here I have a lot of selvages. So I'm just going to move my fabric. I'm going to align. Let me make sure I got this in the right place. I'm aligning the fabric on a line on the mat. And that's to make sure it's not going wonky or doing this. Okay. And I'm going to cut off that little bit of selvage. Y'all, I have a hole over here. And my garbage can's right under there. That's reminiscent of crawfish boiled tables. I had that design that way on purpose. So now this edge of this fabric is not perfectly aligned on a line on the mat, and that's okay because I need a 2.5 inch square. Now when I cut, let me get in here. When I cut my 2.5 inch squares, I'm going to make sure that a line on the mat and a line on the mat are exactly where they need to be. And I can see and measure this line, and this line, and it's all the same. I'm not just looking here for the 2.5 inch cut. I'm also looking here and here, and that's going to make sure I don't have any kind of cattywampus stuff, wonky things going on. Okay. And then you lift up. So there's pros and cons to both of these methods of cutting from one end or the other. I just prefer to do this, especially when I've got fabrics that are all different lengths, because I've been cutting out of them for different things out of a kit. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. Just, make another one. Just make another cut, set that aside, save it in case you can use it again. Okay, so the minimum number of something that I needed was 4. And that milk can leaves, I needed 5 of those. Okay, I'm gonna have to make another cut out of the brown. So now from here, okay. So now from here, I'm gonna start with this. And these are all gonna go on the same plate, okay? So these guys go together, and the orange is on there as well. And my orange D squares, I needed 8 of those. So I need another strip of the orange. I'm gonna have to cut more. So this is, I'm just gonna sort them out onto the plates. Right now I'm cutting two blocks at the same time. So I only need 2 of the plates, okay? And this is just the easy way to kind of, and then I stack them so I can count them and make sure I get everything. This is, here you go, playing the sort game. It's hard when you've got a bunch of squares, a bunch of different lengths of fabric, and you're trying to conserve fabric so you don't waste any. Okay. So we're getting there, right? We're getting there. Here's another cut. You're not always going to have the exact right amount in one swipe of the cut to get exactly what you need. All right. So now I have this tiny bit of waste here and here, and that's I can, that's palatable to me. Okay. So I'm just going to continue making cuts and cutting these and then getting them all. You don't use the mat lines. Yeah. So it's hard to watch comments and watch me. Yeah, you can go back and watch it again. That's fine. Okay. So this one here is the C block, and I needed 5 of the C's, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 1 more of these. And all I have left here now are the orange and this floral. So I need 1 more of the floral because I need a total of 5 of this gold floral. So that's finished. So I can pull this one up now, and I have a 2.5 inch strip that I can use later if I need it. Okay. And then this one, I needed 4 of the pewter squares, and here are 4. Okay. There we go. And I needed 8 of these orange. I don't need any more pewter squares, so that can go back. And now I'm just cutting up the rest of this strip onto 2.5 inch strips. But it's, you know, you guys hear the phrase all the time, measure twice, cut once. And that is true. Now, I like to have my lines on my ruler exactly on the edges of the fabric. I don't want to see fabric poking out from underneath that line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to get 8. There. I got everything I needed on this one, with just a tiny bit of waste. And that's a pinked edge. It's good. I'm all about efficiency when it comes to cutting. Okay. I'm just all about efficiency when it comes to cutting, you guys. I don't like to waste my time cutting fabric that I don't need to cut. I don't want to sit there and think about, well, I'll use one. I have this one piece. Let me make 5 squares out of that. And I have this other piece and let me make 4 squares out of that. No, that's not, I can't. That's too hard for me. So, okay. So this is good. I've got, those are cut. I need more, right? My brown milk can leaves, I need 1 more of those. Now, I only need 1 more of the brown milk can leaves, but that would mean that I would have to cut just 1 square right here out of this brown. I don't want to do that. You can if you want, okay? I did talk about conserving fabric, but a 2.5 inch strip I can live with, because 2.5 inch strips get used all the time in everything. Now this is a nice clean edge, so I'm going to make another. Let me see here. No, I don't. I don't need to cut. I think I only need 1 more of the brown. The red, how many of the red do I need? 4. I've got those. So I need 1 more out of this. Hold on. This is done. This is done. And the orange is done. And the pewter is done. Yep. All done. So these don't need to be cut. So I do need to cut just 1 square out of that brown. So these are finished and can be folded back up and put back in. Now I can cut a 2.5 inch square. I didn't iron that. Don't cut without ironing your fabrics first. Wrinkles will cause misshaped blocks. Misshaped blocks. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. There's block 5 for that. Now I'm done with this one. Okay. And it takes a lot of discipline, but when you're done with your fabrics, fold them up and put them away. I know. Nobody wants to do that. I want to cut. I want to get it all cut. Take a breath. Yep. Take a breath. Take a little time to fold your fabrics and put them away. I know it's annoying. But that's okay. So I fold mine to the long edge, and let's see. How did I do this? Not right. I try to keep them all about the same shape so that they all kind of fit right inside of the container. Yeah, about like that. So, and if they're all stacked up, it shouldn't be hard. Yeah. You guys got big plans this weekend? I got my friend coming today for a little quilting lesson, and then we're going to meet some friends this evening, and we're all pretty much ready for Keith's surgery on Tuesday. Ron and Bonnie were here yesterday, and Bonnie lent Keith she had one of those cold ice water machine thingies. So he's got that. And we have gotten in the shower stool and raised the potty up seat. Thank you so much, Erin. I appreciate that. Thank you for your super sticker. That's very thoughtful. All right. So what's next? Now I've got more yardage. Okay. These are a little bit harder to cut, but I'm going to leave it on the fold. I'm just going to leave it on the fold, I think. Let me think about this. Okay. You didn't realize you could change the side of the blade to accommodate being left-handed. Oh, that's a great point. That is a great point, Letha. So see where the blade is on here? Okay, it's got an indentation. It has the same indentation on the other side. You can switch them around if you're lefty. Ambidextrous rotary cutters, you guys. It's not stupid at all. It's not intuitive, and they don't put it on the package. So, yeah, that's very handy to Bear Hug ice machines are lifesavers. Yeah, he's going to be using it quite a bit. Let's see. I need 4 of these. I think I'm going to cut these on the short side. And this piece of it is ironed. I just told y'all, don't do that if it's not ironed. And I think I'm going to have to cut. If I wasn't on camera, I would go press this real quick. Let me see. That's a small one. What am I missing for colors? And then this one. There. I'm going to cut short side on these fat 8s. Or whatever they gave me. Let me see here. This side is ironed. So I've got biggest piece to smallest piece. I'm stacked so I can see them all. Okay. So I need the larger ruler. I'm cutting off a selvage. I'm got to rearrange my stuff here, you guys. I'm aligning the edges, the bottom edge with the edge on the mat, with a line on the mat. And then I'm also making sure my ruler line is even with a line on the mat. So I know I've got a straight cut across the bottom. Okay. Okay. And 2.5 inches. Again, you want to make sure you've got mat down here. Do not start here and pull backwards. Don't do that, okay? Because you can cut yourself and it'll also go. Don't do that. The proper way to cut, start back, get your blade out, keep your hand away from the edge, and a gentle, easy push it forward, straight through, okay? Oh, you guys, I've seen people do that, and it makes me go, oh, no, don't do that. And I think I'm going to need another cut. I'm pretty sure I need 4 of these. So yeah, I'm going to need another cut. Let me move this. Okay. Now, I got 2 rows here. Do I have room to put this under there? I've got 2. You can do this. Jenny Doan cuts a lot on her channel. And just watch her over and over. Her technique is very good. Now, when you're doing these, you want to make sure. So the bottom edges are not all even. They're all kind of off. So I'm going to make sure the shortest one is over a line. Just making sure the shortest. you can line them all up if you want. I don't have time for that. Okay. So these need to be 2.5. I'm just going to put my 2.5 inch mark on the line with the fabric a little bit there. So I know the shortest one is there. There. Okay. So if I pull this away, if you use a rotary mat, that's handy too. But you're going to get your most accurate cut if you don't rely on you stacking the fabric exactly. Rely on the mat, the ruler cutting the fabric accurately for you. Okay. Don't rely on your stacking. Okay. What do we have here? We got the dark green and the blue and the light green. So what I will do normally is I will cut like 4 blocks at a time when I do this. Where do these go? These go on this plate, and this plate, and this one goes on this plate. I need 2 more of the green. I don't know if I'm going to get 2.5 out of this or not. Yep. Yay. Okay, so that's all the green. That one, I've got everything I need out of that. I need 4 of those. And you just got to kind of keep track of. And the blues, I needed 4 of those. So finished with this piece. And those greens, the gingham, I needed 8 of those. Okay, so I need 4 more of the green gingham. I'm finished with this and this. And I need to press these because they've got a big bend in them. Okay. So, yeah, stripology rulers are great. If you get those, you will really like it. Yep. You guys, I'm going to go make a quick press. I will be right back. So my philosophy on steam, when you're pressing your fabrics, to me, that's just as important of a step to press and what's the word I'm looking for? I've been taking that Prevagen. So you use steam to bend fabric to your will. And so if you're garment sewing, use steam all the time, right? Because the body is curved and you want flat fabric to curve to the body. When you're using quilting cottons, you're not making these into curves, okay? I don't use steam. That's my personal preference. I have more accurate cuts when I don't use steam. If you use steam, what happens is the fibers, they get loose and they warp and they'll shift. And you can even see the pattern in your fabric. You can see it get wavy and whatnot. I just don't do it. All I do when I press is I use a hot iron without it being, with no steam. And I will press with the grain of the fabric, whether it is right, left, or front and back. I don't press on a diagonal. I don't take my iron and do this, okay? Because what's happening is the heat, in addition to steam, the heat is reshaping the fibers of that. I just don't recommend it. That's another thing it's concept. The concept is keep your fibers straight in your fabric. Now, do you starch? I generally don't. I know Kim Jolly from the Fat Quarter Shop, she has a room for nothing but starching her fabrics. She likes them as close to paper as she can get them, okay? And that's fine. That works great. That's her preference. She swears by it, and that's great. I don't see the need to do that. Okay. So I just want to let you know how my thoughts on pressing and steam. So I'm going to stack these up. I need 4 more of these. I'm going to stack them on top of each other and then get these cut. So you want to try to use the smallest ruler that you can for the block that you're cutting. There's 2. And then because the larger rulers are kind of hard to manage, there's 4. Okay, so there's 2 and 4, and that gives me 8 on that one. All right, all I've got to do now is cut the background fabrics for these. Now, what I do with my little pieces, this is just me, is I will fold them up along with the parent fabric, and that way if I ever need another 2.5-inch piece or whatever, it's there when I go to grab the fabric and then cut it. I'll say, oh, look, I've already got a piece that's cut out of that fabric. That's perfect. I don't like to keep my little scraps separate. I'll just keep them with the parent fabric for the life of the process here. Okay. I find that all the time. I'll go to cut something and I open up the fabric here and I go, oh, look, I've already got a piece of that. That's cool. And then I can just trim it down. Oh, so see, I've got some scraps here that need to go in with this one. Just put that in there. That's completely up to you. A lot of people don't do that. They'll like to keep their tiny scraps and into little pieces for extra projects, and that's perfectly fine. It's your quilt. You can do it any way you want. But being disciplined to put this stuff away is what's going to keep your sewing room intact during a project instead of it going every which way. There. This is perfect. Okay. Oh, gosh. So last call for hashtag Power Tools. If you have not done so already, we've got U.S. shipping only, please. I've got a curated bundle of fabric from Me Time, and we've got a bright cafe. This is when you hear the word cafe, there's a fabric designer by the name of Cafe Facet, and that his fabrics are extremely, you can't miss them. Cafe fabrics, definitely. We have like a pink velveteen, and there's a beautiful green. This would look wonderful in a Christmas project. And there's a lime with some dots on it, and a chunk of white. You always need that, and some pretty blue, maybe robin's egg blue. So I will get this to you guys. Okay, it is gorgeous. I love it. Yeah. So you never know what you can do with stuff like this. These things come into my sewing room, and I'm happy to ship them out of my sewing room. Oh, y'all, I gave Bonnie that big box of Orifil thread. I didn't have to ship it. She put it in her motorhome and headed back to other side of Houston. So it's out of my sewing room, and I'm very happy about that. So, all righty. So I hope you guys got something out of today. This is just, so now, other than the background fabrics, which I'm going to cut here in just a minute. So there's 2 of my blocks. All right. Oh, let me finish this other last little part up. All right. Show you guys what I do. I get myself a little sticky note. Okay. And this one is the block number 1. This one. So I'm going to take my sticky note, and I'm just going to block number 1. I put a big 1 on there. Okay. It's real technical, you guys. All right. And I'm going to stick it on here, and I'm going to staple it. And that's block number 1. All right. And now this one is block number 2. Oh, I did that upside down. Okay, that's all right. I'm going to staple it. So what I do when I get all these, I won't have the fabric hanging out, obviously. So there's my paper plate stacking method of keeping track of my blocks. And then I'll just try to do a block a day or half a block a day or something like that. Okay. And then I'm going to have 22 of these plates all stacked up full of fabric. And this is the most efficient way to get everything cut at one time. And when you're cutting 4 at a time or something like that, it's even more efficient. So you're going to get lots and lots of cutting done in one go. I'll probably finish that up this morning. Matter of fact, I might have Anne cut some blocks for me. And maybe I'll get her to do that when she comes over. So, all right. You need the pattern. Yeah, the pattern for this, the one I'm doing, I don't know if you guys are talking about that. This is the How to Build a Scarecrow Sew Along Guide. I've got a link to it below the video. I also have a link to the kit if you are interested in doing this. The Sew Along Guide is free. And then what you do is you go out to beinmybonnetco.com, and that is Lori Holt's blog, and she will take you through exactly how to put all of these things together. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Let's do the drawing. Hold on just a second here. I need to get this set up and make sure we've got that going. Just 1 second. Okay. So you ordered your Hug Your Stylist yesterday. Oh, great, Karen. Yeah, you'll like that. I don't know what it is about that little piece of plastic with the keychain on it. You just won't lose it. It's great. Because boy, do they tend to grow legs, do they not? Yeah, we've still got a few people coming in here on this, and we're just a few minutes before 8. So you got one too. Awesome, awesome. That's great. Those are wonderful people. Eileen and Jim, met them. I've been on 2 cruises with them now. So, we have a big announcement coming soon on another cruise besides the one in May 2025. So, stay tuned for that. If you cannot get on the one in May, on May 24th, if you can't get on that one, all is not lost. I'll just put it that way. Okay. All is not lost. All righty. So let's see what we got here. It's taken its sweet time. Okay. We're at 7:58. I'm going to give it 1 more minute to capture all y'all's entries. Yeah. Definitely practice on your, and if you're brand new to quilting, I would recommend that you not dive into specialty rulers. On specialty rulers, those are rulers that are only used for that particular project, and there's great ones that are out there like Tucker trimmers and the stripologies. Those are great, and those can be used over and over again on different projects. But I would discourage you from getting a ruler that is specific to a certain project. If you see a project you want to make and it requires a specialty ruler, think twice about that, okay? Because what if you don't get that done and now you've wasted $40 on a ruler, right? So that's all. That's just really the only ones you need. You need an 8.5 by 24. 6.5 by 24 works as well. Those are good. The 6 by 12, that's the most. I use these 90% of the time. And then you might consider a 2.5-inch ruler. These are great. This is a 2.5 by 8, I think. This is from Missouri Star. I use this all the time too, but I don't use it a lot for cutting. I just prefer cutting on rulers that have a rubberized backing on them. This one does not. So what happens is this can twist like that, right? You got a rubberized back, that twists, but not as much. But when it's on fabric, it doesn't twist at all. All right. So I want to, hold on a second here. I want to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to do the drawing. And we're sharing. All right, let's see who gets it. Let's see who gets it. Gayla Myers. Oh, I love your little daisies there. Those sunflowers are beautiful. Gayla, congratulations. That's wonderful. Yay, congratulations. Fantastic, Gayla. Send me an email, powertoolswiththread@outlook.com, with your mailing address, and I will get this bundle of fabric in the mail to you. Well, you guys, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you got something out of it. Let me make that there. We'll just do that like that so we can still see who won. Yeah, shoot me an email. My email address is below in the description box as well. But you guys have an amazing weekend. I hope you enjoyed yourself this morning. Hope you got a lot out of this, and I hope you have good cuts, okay? So I'm going to finish up. I've got 22 more blocks to cut up here. We'll talk to you soon. You guys go sew something, and I'll see you on Monday, okay? Bye.